Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Crank Addict. I know it's been a while, but I've been busy doing other things. Other household things like solar installation here. I was diverted from the Jimmy for a while to get these solar systems installed for the house so we can avoid the bad consequences of an EMP attack. So anyway, it's kind of sort of going right now. I hit a little bit of a snag in the roadblock. If you're not interested in solar at all, then you may want to fast forward a few minutes here. But I'm going to run through what I did with the solar system real quick, and we'll go from there. All right, well this was the first iteration of my solar install here. I set up these 12, now 13 solar panels on the ground facing the south. And they're rated for about 250 watts each. Yeah, I hear you, Crispy. It's my crispy chicken rooster. And well, they're used. They're probably about 10 years old, and they're just not putting out the power they should. This array here probably puts out about 1,000 watts instead of 3,000 watts. Not the best, but it kind of got my system going. But anyway, I had the wiring for this thing running around the side of the house. If I can show it to you guys here. I had it running around the side of the house, underneath the basement, and into the inverter in the basement down there. Alright, so here I am in the walkout basement. And you can see I had the conduit from the solar panels coming across the corner here, around and around over here, and into the basement area here where I had the solar panel mounted against the wall. And here are a few more solar panels on the roof of the house. Also older solar panels that I picked up for about $40 each. But again, they're only putting out about 1/3 of what they're supposed to put out. So yeah, these 3,000 watts of power, maybe making 1,000 watts. Not real good. All right, but you know, I was only using one 48-volt battery pack. It's basically 4 batteries put together in series. And with the limited power supply, my 2 water pumps and the 2 refrigerators that I had hooked up to that solar inverter would drain the battery overnight. And one day I woke up with a dead battery. I had to get power to my water pump, so I disconnected everything, plugged it back into the grid, and waited for the sun to come out. When the sun came up and I was making power, I hooked everything back up to the solar generator, flipped it on, and boom! Blew the inverter right out. I guess the surge draw with the 2 water pumps, the 2 refrigerators was just too much for it. It popped it. Fortunately, EG4 replaced my inverter, and due to their excellent customer service, I decided to buy a second. I didn't want to blow it again and put Signature Solar in a similar situation. I know it's a kind of a bad deal. I know it's my fault for blowing it, but you know, it was a pretty much new inverter. I'm glad they replaced it. So anyway, that's what started me on my second iteration of this solar project. You guys are probably looking at these bars behind me here. So what is going on in this guy's backyard? That will be a future episode. So anyway, let's go back upstairs. Anyway, after that first inverter blew, I bought a second inverter. And now I have 2 new inverters running right here next to each other in parallel. This is actually a pretty neat system. Right now I only have 3,000 watts of solar panels going to this first inverter here. The solar panels I just showed you are not hooked up. They're on the far side of the house, and I got to figure out a way to get some big old fat wires through the house and over to my garage. So that's an issue. I'm going to have to drill through some thick concrete to get them over here, so that's kind of slowing me down. But the way I've got this one set up is kind of neat. Here I've got a 150 amp breaker going into this box here. These main cables here go to the house, for most of the house anyway. But I've got power routing off this machine here, running through my generators, and when I don't have solar power, it is pulling power right off the grid. So here you can see I've got power from the grid going into the house here. Right now the solar panels are making 260 watts right now. It's not a whole lot, but it's still morning and it's cloudy. They're charging the battery. The battery's up to 48 volts right now. Probably in another hour or so, it's going to try to kick in and use the battery power to power the house. If it fails and the battery voltage drops too low, it kicks back to the grid. So it's seamless. I don't have to go back to the box and plug and unplug everything. It's just a much neater install. But to do it this way, you got to have your boxes close to your breaker box, which I didn't have before. This is a much better system. These are sharing the load, so you can see here's running right now 140 watts in the house. This one over here is running 110 watts in the house. So they're sharing the load right now for the house. Like I said, there's not much going on right now, just a few lights. No one's doing dishes or washing clothes or anything like that. In the future, yes, I do need to get the other solar panels hooked up to it. I've got theoretically about 10,000 watts up there, but again, I'm probably only going to put out about 3,000 watts because they're so old. That will certainly help out the system. Well, I've got two sets of batteries down here. I got a big monster battery that's running 48 volts, which is, believe it or not, the same size as four of these other lithium phosphate batteries. So they're both the same size, even though physically they look a little different. But anyway, that's my solar system. If you guys want to hear more about my solar system, let me know in the comments, and I can put together some diagrams for you, let you know exactly how I have them hooked up. But today you guys are here for the Jimmy. So last time we took this thing for a little bit of a drive, and it was super loud. It was popping through the exhaust. It was not happy. The steering was horrible. I bought a 4-inch lift kit for the front with new leaf springs, and I tightened up the steering box, so I'm hoping that does better. But it's still running very rough right now, and I got to figure out that issue. So I'm gonna hook up my HP Tuners computer to it today and do some diagnostics, see if I can see anything that's going on with the scanner, and we'll kind of go from there. All right, so we're gonna fire up this Jimmy and we're gonna get a scan of it. Got my HP Tuners out right now. I don't know how to do the screenshots like everybody does here, so anyway, let's figure this out here. So let's go to vehicle first. We'll connect. Come on. Oh, hang on a second here. Wasn't happy with that. Let's try a different USB port. Okay. Got another USB port going here. Connect. This is an old computer. All right, gathering vehicle information. Able to detect. What is going on here? Oh, you know, it always helps when you turn the key on. Ah, okay. All right, key is on. Connect. All right, now I should have some information. Well, let's see. Let's repoll. See what's supported here. And we'll start scanning. Let's see what it says. Oh, here we go. We've got some numbers now. All right, so we're scanning. So I want to fire this thing up. This is the Spark Advance right here. It's going through. I can see what's going on over here on this side. I'm gonna. I'm going to step out of the garage because that carbon monoxide will kill you. So anyway, we're going to let this thing warm up and we'll get some readings off the idle and we'll see how it does. Truck came in there. I think it's like 216 intake duration and 220 exhaust duration with about 600 lift. Well, I'll take it back, it's 550 lift. I used the LS6 springs in this one, so it's 550 lift. And if you go back and you search some of my old videos, you'll probably find the cab card somewhere. We're starting to slope down now. I'll give it a couple of minutes and I'll come back to you here in a second, okay? Okay, so I'm looking at the log file here. I can grab this little marker down here on the bottom and then drag it around, and you can see all the numbers on the spark advance change as I drag this across. So I've been looking at this, and what keeps coming back to me is my oxygen voltage here. My driver side bank 1, is showing 0.049 volts, almost zero. And my passenger side is showing 0.957, almost a full volt. These oxygen sensors, this is not a wideband sensor, this is the factory sensor. So anything over half a volt is rich, anything less than half a volt is lean. And that's how the computer kind of tells it more gas, less gas, that kind of stuff. Just on or off, on or off. Too much, too little, too much, too little. It doesn't tell you how far off you are. But these numbers are the extremes. This oxygen sensor measures 0 to 1 volt. So I'm at the very low scale, almost zero on the driver's side, and all the way maxed out on the passenger side. And here are the fuel trims here. You can see the computer's adding like 52% more fuel on the driver's side because it thinks it's too lean. You saw that a while ago. It's not too lean. It was like blowing out black crud off that driver's side tailpipe. And the passenger side is pulling 30% of fuel out of that because the thing is too rich. So I was thinking about this for a while, and I'm thinking since this is a new installation into a Jimmy, this isn't a factory Silverado, I pulled out the factory wiring harness from the old Silverado. I stripped it down, got down to just the bare bones, and I wired it back together. But I'm thinking I got the bank 1 and bank 2 oxygen sensors swapped somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I think that's what happened. So it's trying to make the lean bank more rich, but it's really making the rich bank more rich because the computer's confused. It's doing the opposite of what it should be doing. So I'm gonna crawl back underneath the car. Hopefully I've got enough wire lead on those oxygen sensors and I can swap those out and then we'll see how it does. Okay guys, well, I'll show you what I did here. Alright, so here is one oxygen sensor here. The exhaust is a little warm still. And the other oxygen sensor is back here. This is the passenger side, this is the driver side, and I pulled them over the transmission. And yeah, I had a little extra wiring back here on this driver's side We'll see how that does for you. You know, like I said, it looks like I had them correct because this one had a lot more wiring than this one here, but let's go ahead and turn the Jimmy back on and we'll see how it behaves. Let's see if it does any better here, okay? Here we go. Well, that sounded good. Still a little cold right now. Okay, you can see that. Yeah. Still cold. Exhaust is hot. Oh, that sounds so much better. That's loud. That's really loud. But that sounds a whole lot better. Before it was real slow revving up, like it was just flooding out. Yeah, it's definitely a lot better. So yeah, definitely I must have crossed those wires up or something. I don't know why or how I got the driver's side oxygen wire so long. I'm probably gonna have to just clip it and then, you know, shorten it down. But like I said, I was able to get them moved around. And you know what we should do? We should check the O2 voltages. Let's see if that makes a difference. Okay, let's check that out. Hang on. All right, guys. Here's my latest scan here. Looking down here at the oxygen voltage here, O2 sensors. I've got one here at 586 and the other's at 699, slightly rich. Let me drag this through here a little bit here. Yeah, see it's bouncing around 551, 747, 547, 560, 503, 755. So yeah, definitely we're right around, it's kind of bouncing back and forth. It's going around that 0.50 volts now. So that is definitely a lot better than what it was doing before when it was maxed out on one bank and minned out on the other bank. All right, so it looks like we got the oxygen sensor thing figured out. You heard how loud this thing was. Boy, this thing sounds like a race car. This is gonna wake up the neighbors for sure. So I gotta do something about that. Right now I've got a 2.5-inch stainless exhaust on here with some 2-foot long stainless glass packs, but even at 24 inches long, they're just not muffling the sound the way it needs to. So I gotta do something different. So let's tackle that next.